Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Handhelds. I'm Joey, and today we're going to be reviewing the Anbernic RG Cube XX. The Anbernic RG Cube XX has an H700 processor, allowing you to play up to and including Nintendo 64, Sega Dreamcast, and PlayStation Portable. But some games from those catalogs will have issues emulating, so it's not the entire catalog that are playable. And we're going to skip ahead here, but considering this is a 1:1 aspect ratio device, PSP might not be your favorite to play on here. The price of this is $67 before shipping on Anbernic's website, and you can buy this from the link in the description. 67 is crazy budget king territory for a handheld like this. The main highlight of the Anbernic RG Cube XX is the 1:1 aspect ratio 720p IPS display. It is super nice, and I'm glad that we're starting to see 720p screens and above in this price range. Game Boy and Game Boy Color both look absolutely fantastic on this display, and they're two of the main highlights for here, along with NES and SNES. The Powkiddy RGB30 and Powkiddy RGB20SX are two other 1:1 aspect ratio devices, both with the same screen, and so now we have a few different options if you want this type of screen. The Cube XX has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and HDMI, and that's awesome to give you the flexibility for connecting wireless controllers, docking this to a TV, retro achievements, other Wi-Fi related activities, and so on. It is basically feature-rich, which is great to see. The Cube XX is pretty comfortable. It has nice protruding grips on the back, and those contour to my hands, and it gives you the ability to hold it nice and close. I like handhelds that let me use my palms and basically just bring me closer to the device. And so I can do that with it here, and it is extremely comfortable. And the Cube XX just allows you to get into a nice comfortable position. Anbernic is very good at doing comfortable handhelds, and it shows here. The D-pad is a Sega-style D-pad, and I very much enjoy using it. It's very accurate, and it allows me to be precise with movements in games, and that's a big bonus. I would love to see this Sega D-pad used more often, because it's definitely one of their better D-pads that they've done, and I'm a big fan of it here, especially given the positioning of it being on top for older retro games. On the button side, Anbernic is known for very good buttons, and it is no exception here. Nice travel, not loud, and they do button things like you'd expect. They're more on the mushy end instead of clicky, and once again, very accurate. It's a nice package between the buttons and the D-pad. Down-firing speakers here, which doesn't really matter at this price point. Front-facing, side-facing, down-facing, just put some speakers. Have a quick listen to the sound. Typical speakers in this price range, they're good enough for the price point, and that's all you really need. On the software end, you can run the stock operating system as it arrives, or you can install a custom firmware like MUOS, which is what I use personally. It's currently in testing, not available to the public without paid donations, but MUOS allows a lot more than the stock firmware for customizations and so on. However, if you want an easy to use, just works out of the box, and Bluetooth also works, then I would suggest sticking with the stock operating system, as MUOS currently doesn't support Bluetooth. On the performance end, the Cube XX can essentially run up to and including Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, and PSP, but again, some of those libraries. You'll need some tweaks for some of those games. The best case scenario for the Cube XX is Game Boy and Game Boy Color, as well as Pico 08 games. All of those make the best use out of the 1:1 aspect ratio screen, and they look absolutely fantastic. You could also make changes to your NES and SNES games to 8:7 aspect ratio to match most of the screen without losing too much, and that helps you adapt your games to the screen size and still make them look good. That's not to say that 4:3 content doesn't look great here, because it does. It just depends on your preference, and you have both options available to you with a 1:1 screen. Game Boy Advance is another one that actually scales quite nicely, and it looks gorgeous on this display. It's not shocking to anybody that owns a 1:1 aspect ratio device, but it is really nice here, and Game Boy Advance is my favorite of the retro systems. Nintendo DS is pretty fun because you can put screens on top and bottom. Some text might be a little bit hard to read in this way, but it is a fun way to play a lot of different games, so I would suggest you try it. Heading over into Nintendo 64, and again, some games will work right away with no texture issues, no glitches, none of that, and then some might need to be changed for the emulator and stuff. So it all depends on what you're looking for, but I wouldn't buy this for Nintendo 64 and above. Those same words are echoed for Sega Dreamcast, albeit you're going to be using frame skip for a lot more playable frame rates for some games. But again, it's not a big issue if you don't mind that, and you can play some Dreamcast games. I just don't think there's a better device at this price point than the RG Cube XX. It truly is an emulation beast and a budget king. A huge benefit too is it ships with cardinal snapping on the sticks with the stock firmware. And that means that basically they act as a D-pad, so you could have basically two D-pads on here. They snap to each cardinal direction. But that changes with MEOS and other custom firmware. They adjusted them to be more like normal sticks. So if you really want that feature, then stick with stock and enjoy it. But it's great that Anbernic gives us these options. There's also a more expensive RG Cube that runs Android and is more powerful. And basically, if you like the design of the Cube, you can grab that and play a lot more than what the Cube XX can do. Anbernic really thought out everything here and includes a device for everybody. Overall, this is a really great device, and it is the 8th in the line of H700 devices, so you have a whole bunch to choose from. If you don't like this design, but you're okay with the price point and the power, then just pick one of the other 7 devices and have fun. But I do think this is probably the best of the bunch, and it's not that expensive, so you can have a really good time with this until the next one comes out, and then you can buy that one and enjoy that one too. And then you are in the retro handhelds community, just consistently buying devices because they're all great. At $68 US, this is a no-brainer, so buy it, enjoy it, you will have a lot of fun with this device. That's going to be it for this one. Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow. Come join me on the Discord to talk all about retro handhelds like this one. Support me on Patreon if you like my stuff. And hope you all have a good one.